time I'd like to call to order the Crystal Council meeting, and I'd like to start with roll call.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Here.
Councilmember Anessa Rosen.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Here.
Councilmember Cummings.
Here.
Councilmember Eidbo.
Here.
Councilmember Kamish is absent. We have a quorum.
All right. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. All right, we have an agenda before us. I'd like to make a motion to change the agenda and pull the item of 4.5 from the consent agenda. Looking for a second on that motion. Go ahead, Forrest.
Second.
All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, looking for a motion on the amended agenda. Go ahead, Forrest.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
All right. David?
I will second that.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We do have some proclamations today. First proclamation is recognizing Etta Irving's 100th birthday, which is June 28th, 2024, as Etta Irving Day. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and a community that benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experience this individual brings to all. And whereas the City of Crystal recognizes with respect and admiration the contribution of our special senior citizens, such as Mrs. Etta Irving, who was born June 28th, 1924 in Utah, Alabama, to Cora and Frank Norwood. And whereas Etta married Harold Irving, and together they raised a family that includes 7 children, 18 grandchildren, and 27 great-grandchildren. And whereas Ms. Etta Irving has lived in the City of Crystal for more than 40 years, and according to her family, is a beautiful example of how we should live our lives. And whereas Mrs. Irving has devoted many years of services as an active member of St. Peter's AME Church, where she has served as class leader, usher, and missionary. And whereas Mrs. Irving enjoys watching and listening to sports, reading, and living life as a wonderful, loving person with a generous heart, she willingly gives to her church many charities and anyone in need. She really shares her knowledge, advice, and words of encouragement. And whereas on behalf of the citizens of the City of Crystal, we express our heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to Mrs. Etta Irving as we honor your 100th birth date on June 28, 2024. Now, therefore, I, Jim Adams, Mayor of the City of Crystal, do hereby recognize Etta Irving on her 100th birthday and proclaim that June 28, 2024 as Etta Irving Day in Crystal. We join the family and friends in honoring Etta and extend our heartfelt best wishes for a happy birthday and best wishes and many more to come. Dated this 18th day, June 2024. Not sure we've done one of those before.
That's cool.
We're having fireworks on the 28th, correct?
Yeah. No,
100 of them?
not that I'm aware of. But yeah, it's kind of something fun to do. I like that. Next one is related to our Independence Day proclamation, whereas on July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress approved final wording of the Declaration of Independence, and whereas July 4th, 1776 was the date that was on the original printed copies of the Declaration of Independence that was circulated throughout the young nation, and whereas the Declaration of Independence contains principles of our country's many freedoms, rights, individuals, and responsibilities, and whereas in 1870, the United States Congress declared July 4th to be a national holiday to celebrate our nation and freedoms. Now, therefore, I, Jim Adams, Mayor of Crystal, do hereby proclaim Thursday, July 4th, 2024 as Independence Day in Crystal in recognition of the founding of our country, and I invite Crystal residents to celebrate and honor our many freedoms on July 4th. Proclaimed this 18th day of June, 2024. And the next one is a little bit closer to home to some of our employees here. It's proclamation designating July as 2020 for Parks and Recreation Month in Crystal. Whereas Parks and Recreation services are an integral part of the community throughout this country, including in Crystal. And whereas Park and Recreation promotes health, wellness by providing places to play sports, swim, walk, participate in other activities. And whereas Park and Recreation connects our communities by creating welcoming community gathering places and community events. And whereas park and natural areas contribute to our community's ecological beauty and improve mental well-being. And whereas Park and Recreation supports food access through community gardens and farmers market. And whereas Park and Recreation programs help foster childhood development and lifelong learning. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Park and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Crystal recognizes the importance of Parks and Recreation service in our community. Therefore, I, Jim Adams, Mayor of Crystal, do hereby proclaim July 24th as Park and Recreation Month in Crystal, dated this 18th day of 2024. That is it for our proclamations. We do have a consent agenda, which is before you. I'll read that into the record at this time. Approval of the minutes from the following meetings: City Council work session from June 4th, a council meeting from that same date. Approval of the list of license applications submitted by the city clerk to the city council. Those are on file in her office. Adoption of a resolution accepting donations. We've got a number of donations. I'd like to read these into the record. We got Daniel Elbert, Recreation Youth Scholarship Fund for $25, VFW Post 494 for the Airport Open House, $2,000. Westfall American Legion for Airport Open House, $1,000. Westfall Post Restaurant for the Airport Open House, $1,000. The one I really want to draw attention to is Kathy and Jean Gustafson. This is a memorial contribution to Luke Gustafson, who did an awful lot to help organize the Airport Open House in the last few years. He has passed in the last year, and this donation is on behalf in his name. So I just wanted to draw attention to that. Adoption of a resolution approving off-site lawful gambling permit for Crystal Frolics at Welcome Park from July 26th to the 28th, 2024. That's submitted by the West Metro Fire Rescue District Firefighters Relief Association. Approval of the appointment of, nope, we took that one off. Adoption of a resolution accepting Hennepin County All Hazard Mitigation Plan. That is our consent agenda. Looking for a motion on that. Therese?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you for that. Looking for a second? David?
I will second that.
All right. All members in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, we got them all in. Open forum. Do we have anybody here wishing to speak during open forum? Seeing no one, we will skip right by open forum. First item on the regular agenda is $25,000 expenditures in larger. Read those into the record. Center for Energy and Environment for Home Improvement Rebate Program, $43,252. Golden Valley Joint Water Commission for April water charges, $163,993. Core and Main LP for radio upgrade project, $166,725. Cone Inc. for elevator modernization, $54,452. MinPair for employee required contributions for pay date 6/7/24, $71,911. Health Partners Inc. for June health insurance premiums, $140,000, $140,518. IRS electronic funds for federal and FICA withholding taxes for pay date 5/24, $71,239. Total disbursements of $25,000 or greater is $712,093.04. Any of those items any questions on any of those items from the council? Seeing none, looking for a motion. John?
Make a motion to approve the list of items, expenses, thank you, a great word, for more than 25,000.
All right, looking for a second? Forrest?
Second.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have our Recreation Director, John Elholm, here to address the council, and this is in relationship to our pool.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. It's good to be here. John Elholm, Recreation Director. We're here today to talk about an amendment to our agreement with Kraus Anderson. Page.
Tonight it's not going to work. There you go.
All right. So just a little bit of background. We know that there's been a lot of talk about the pool for a number of years. Some of the key highlights was back in last July, we hired US Aquatics to develop plans for the pool. We hired HCM Architects to develop plans for the building. And in January of 2024, we hired Kraus Anderson as a construction manager for both the pool and the building projects. So construction plans are done for both the pool and the building. We started with the pool because there's some longer lead times on that, and it's a much more complicated project. The building is still coming along and looking at a late summer, fall kind of construction process for that. April 16, construction contracts were awarded for the pool project, and we were here 2 weeks ago for some of those major amenity contracts were awarded for the pool project as well. And tonight we're here to amend our agreement with Kraus Anderson. So the agreement we had back in January with Kraus Anderson is there was a small dollar amount for pre-construction, the whole bidding process. The agreement does talk about us having them as a construction manager, and it's 2% of the construction amount. However, in January, we did not know the construction amount. So our action back in January was that we would come back and just fill in the blanks once we had some of these numbers. The administrative personnel was based on an hourly pay rate, and those pay rate schedules were included in the original contract back in January. So the construction schedule and costs have now been determined. It's an 8-month project, construction cost of $4,710,576. So the amendment just plugs in those numbers. So construction manager, 2% of that construction cost is $94,212. Administrative personnel based on an 8-month project is $426,746. It also, the third item on there refers to general conditions, and that's kind of pass-through costs. And what I've been told from Kraus Anderson is that number is high. We don't spend that money unless we need to. So for example, if all of a sudden we determine we need to bring some barricades up because there's some issue, those costs then get passed on to us. So those are not, that number's not part of the contract, it's just saying, acknowledging that if there are any of those kind of costs, that they would get passed on to us if needed. So the budget for this is, there's two parts of this. The pool improvements, that's the $3.3 million for the pool. The building improvements is $700,000. And one thing that is part of this that we haven't talked a lot about is there's some making the service counter inside the community center accessible. It's currently not. And so if we're doing the counter, since we're doing the counter at the pool, it made sense to do them at the same time, have the same contractor do all of that work. That's a relatively small compared to the other parts of the project. We also have the legislative appropriation and the Hennepin County Youth Activities Grant, so the total budget for everything is $6,735,000. So the budget, or the expenses, I combined both the pool and the building into one big number here. So the design for both the pool, that's US Aquatics and HCM, is the $351,000. We've already been here for that. The construction contracts have been approved. Building contract for the building is, they're estimating $516,000. That's not locked in yet. That is an estimate at this point. Tonight, we're looking at the construction management agreement, the amendment, and 52958 is the number that's in the agreement. The 205 is just an estimate if we need it for those pass-through kind of costs. And then things yet, we also approved the amenities with the platforms and the structures. Things yet to come are other amenities, some concrete footings for those amenities, and then some design services, permits, plan review, that type of thing, $500,000. And then this still has a contingency of $475,000. So even with that, there's still another $300,000 available in the budget. So the Cross Anderson agreement fits well within the budget. So the recommendation is to approve the resolution entering into amendment number 1 with Cross Anderson to manage construction of the Crystal Cove Aquatic Center, and B, authorizing the mayor and city manager to execute amendment number 1 with Cross Anderson for the project.
All right, yeah, go ahead, John.
And is it possible to have the presentation put in our packet?
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
get that.
That'd be awesome.
So,
Just to clarify, so the presentation,
That he's going through right now.
It's not loaded.
so when the packets are out, the presentations,
Friday.
okay.
Yeah,
We can, we'll make it work. There are times when we're updating the presentation
okay.
Monday or even Tuesday.
Today.
Sometime in the future, it'd be nice to, actually, see the actual presentation that was just read to me. So that would be okay.
Are you saying that just because we can't see it right now? Or
Yes.
Generally speaking,
We
we
will-
just wanted.
Yes.
Oh, God,
Well, I just said two different things.
I'm very sorry.
There we go.
Somebody said something sooner.
We thought you could tell because
I
it
was just
wasn't.
gonna text
Yeah, I know.
All right, start again.
It was beautiful.
I thought,
For those who don't know what just happened, we could not see anything on our monitors.
And now we can.
Now we can. So, can you go back to the 6,700,000?
yeah,
slide?
that's a great number.
That is a fantastic number. I don't remember ever.
6,735,000, right?
735.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's 3.3 million for the pool, and we've talked about that quite a bit the last few months. The pool building improvements is 700,000, and we've talked about that as well. The one that we haven't honestly talked about as much as there is a little bit in there for the, bringing the community center service desk up to ADA standards and safety standards as well.
That's the 85,000.
That's the 85,000. So we presented a number of the last few meetings that has been just the pool.
Right.
So this includes the building work as well.
And we have yet to approve the building stuff.
Correct. They'll be getting quotes, and
When will we see the design again? Or is it the same design we saw a long time ago?
it's the same design. It hasn't changed.
Oh, okay.
It's on our website, but yeah,
That's my favorite answer. It's on our website. Also check the website.
yeah.
All right, Taji.
So the budget is 6.7, that is the same as the cost, right?
This is what's in the long-term plan. So if you go to the buildings fund in the long-term plan, these numbers are pulled directly out of that.
So what is the cost as of today?
6.4.
Got it, okay. I think as an aside, so I have no issue with what's before us, and this is probably a conversation for a different day, but, and I know things have been added into this, but we had 3.5 million saved for this project, right? And now it's basically double that.
Yeah. Wanna go back one?
And I think my
Yeah.
point is, and this is nothing towards you, John, but like, we need to figure, it's great that we got this legislative appropriation, youth activities grant. We need to talk about how we're, and we've been talking about this, but how are we actually
yeah.
going to fund capital? Because without this legislative, I mean, I don't know, we only actually had half of the dollars of what we actually need or what the actual cost is, and so I just don't want us to be in these predicaments with other projects like this, so. Different topic, I just want to make note of that.
Yeah, so if I just may point out, so the top blue number is the 2.8 and the pool building number, that's the 3.5. And because we got additional funding through the state, we decided to bring some things that were already in the long-term plan further out, just do them sooner. So that's kind of where most of those numbers came from.
That's a decision we still haven't made yet. I mean, yes, you're including it in your presentation, but
But
it's
it's
not.
actually in the long-term plan too.
I understand it's in the
Okay.
long-term plan. Everything got moved up in the long-term plan.
Like, one of the examples was the large slide. That was scheduled for replacement outside of the pool project. But when we had it inspected, it was more apparent, more evident that it needed to be replaced. But there were some things that, and there were items that probably should have been included originally, time-wise, but they were more regular maintenance items, regardless of whether the main pool container was gonna be replaced. They were coming in the next couple of years, so that was really what the impetus for, if we're gonna replace the pool, we might as well replace the gutters, items like that. There were several of those, that they should have been combined to start with.
No, I think we talked about that, and we've gone through that process. We understand that process. I do not recall a $7 million number ever being talked about. And to come in and say it's at 735, we're $300,000 under budget is, to me, another incremental increase. And it just feels bad. I know we're not here to discuss the building at the moment, we'll deal with that at a different time. I think you kind of got to read where I'm at. So let's talk about the management. Because we passed this management fee does not lock us into the building as being presented by staff. I just want you to be eyes wide open. This is our decision. We can talk about it later. John?
But you agree we want to hire,
I do.
okay, all right. I agree too.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Looking for a motion then.
I can make that.
John?
I make a motion approving an amendment to the construction management agreement for the Crystal Cove Aquatic Center project.
All right, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right. Next, we'll talk about the Joint Water Commission and some water main adapters. Adam is here to address the council. I want to present.
The hot seat.
First item, I do not have a presentation for, but it's the Joint Water Commission water main adapters purchase. The Joint Water Commission, as I'm the member for Crystal, anytime there's a water main break, for the repair, each community, the three communities that are part of that, have to use adapters to adapt the main water main to make the repair. The lead time on obtaining those is 3 to 6 months at times. And so we always want, each community several years ago has agreed to have a stock on hand, basically one set for each community. When there's a water main break, one of the communities uses those, depending on where it is. So this is more of just a routine replenishing those adapters. Because the Joint Water Commission requires a purchasing agent to purchase things, in Crystal, we used ours the last water main break. We are basically essentially the purchasing agent for the Joint Water Commission. Because I don't have authority above 25,000, this, it's 34, that's why it's coming to council. So there really isn't a whole lot to discuss, but I am happy to answer any questions about these. So we've done these over the years.
Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
So this is replacing a set of water main adapters that we used with the last water main break, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And so these are going to be our stock set. If there's another one, we can go in and utilize those, then we'd have to replace it again. The other thing, just to mention, these are not directly being purchased by the city. We are the purchasing agent, so we'll be reimbursed by the Joint Water Commission for the expense of these. And all three communities share them equally.
Forrest?
Just to be clear, like if there was a water main break right now, there are a set of adapters that,
We are able to use one of the other cities. We all
Okay.
agree to, whoever's got us that on hand. But that is part of the priority of replacing these as soon as possible. The Joint Water Commission authorized the purchase at the last meeting in, I guess, the beginning of June. But it has to come to whichever city is kind of turn it is to replace them.
All right. Any other questions? I see no more questions. Looking for a motion. Forrest?
I move to approve the purchase of the water main breaks for the Joint Water Commission.
All right. Thank you. Second, Therese?
Water
I'll
main
second that.
adapters, sorry.
All right. Thank you, Therese. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Do you want all that stick up?
Westica, are you going to move right into that?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Didn't have my hand up. What I had, so as I've mentioned a couple times to the council, the city currently does not have a unified budget software or application. We have an accounting software that we have through Logis that we currently do our budgeting through, but as a part of that process, it's very cumbersome. Essentially, we have to recreate everything with Excel spreadsheets, do all the calculations and determine all the, the actual expenses, and then go back in and manually enter that into our, the accounting software that we have. So we've been looking, since I got here, because of this very inefficient and just not really user-friendly program that we currently have, I've been looking at the different options for municipal budgeting software. And the one that I've settled on, I've looked at several. Jody was part of the process, and Kim was Questica, and it's owned by a company named Una that they just got purchased by a couple years ago. But this is one of the most popular products out there for municipal budgeting. And some of the things that I really liked about it, I'm going to show you a couple of the things in a second. But what you're able to do is it's in the system. So we can get rid of the Excel spreadsheets where there's more likelihood that data entry errors and mistakes can happen. It'll all be together. This guy has a personnel module where we can track all the staff. It's great for forecasting. Internally, it's going to allow staff to track projects, track our budgets for each department, each line item in much greater detail. Obviously, that's something that is very limited right now. The amount of reports that it'll produce is tremendous. It also, when we're doing the budget process, we'll be able to run different what-if scenarios. And we can, right now, if we have to, our accounting software that we use, which is called Hubble, if we wanted to make a change, we're not allowed to actually go in and make a change to see what that would the impact of that is. So it's a very tedious process where we'll send something to Jody, she'll run it in the spreadsheets to figure out what the actual impact of that is, and then she'll let us know. This will allow the department heads, there's different roles that can be assigned, it'll allow the department heads to be able to go in and if they want to play around with their budget to make it better, they're able to do that themselves and actually see what the impact is. And you can create, like I said, multiple budgets each year instead of having to have a master city budget document that Abdo's been the one kind of controlling those. We don't want everybody having access to a spreadsheet. So again, we're several years behind in what is available. Some of the other things that it does is it has a transparency platform called OpenBook, and
No? Okay. Want me to share it first? Okay.
I'll go ahead and share. I want to show you one of the cities, that is currently using it, sorry, is Largo, Florida. And they're one of the, they have this thing, and their page is a financial center. But you can go to this and, oh, timed out. One of the options, so you'll still be able to create budget books. Right now, we basically take our Excel spreadsheets that Abdo has created and just export them into a PDF. This actually, and sometimes there's errors or issues that can happen with that. This will actually allow you to create a budget book. It's very professional. But let's see, let me go to, sorry, I had this. It also can create, there's kind of a publishing aspect to it where it can create some really great, I think this will help with just the communication and the public transparency. Again, these aren't super sophisticated, but we can easily create these types of reports. Let me actually go back here. One of the neatest features is this, where you can actually, it links to, so our CIP, our long-term plan, all the different projects that we have, it has this module where you can actually see where they are. So this is, the public will be able to access all this directly from our website. And if you want to, learn more about one of these projects, it gives you this, it gives you all the budget information. So that it's, is it needed? No, but as far as the transparency, it's a great feature that, could get the public more engaged in the, at least being educated and in the know of what's going on. Let me just close that one. One of the other things in the CIP, so you'll still have it's essentially, it creates a PDF, but the accuracy is much better than just exporting a Excel spreadsheet. And when you'll be able to, there's actually live links. You'll be able to filter in some of the CIP so you can, the public can actually utilize some of this. I don't have the ability to go into the actual software to show it, but the forecasting and the built-in escalators that you can put in there, I think it's going to be a huge asset and benefit to the staff to be able to, we're talking this last year, there was multiple items that we didn't really do any projection. This is going to make sure that it's all integrated and be able to do it much simpler for not just capital projects, but as well as other areas within the budget in the operating fund or the operating budget. This is what the actual budget book would look like. It's very similar to ours, but it is professionally done, and it's all, the software itself helps create this. It's actually a separate module that's included. It's not just exporting a simple PDF. So it's much more user-friendly on the internal side of it, as well as, again, that both for convenience for the council when you're going to have to review these things, and we present it to you, but as well as the public will be able to access them much better. And all the financial information. Let me just get to the actual. It's very clear, and you can have as many years as you want. You can drill down, various levels. Right now, it's just very limited. I mean, the council could ask us for how you want the information presented, and it's going to take a lot of work to customize the PDF or the Excel spreadsheets that we currently are using. One other thing, there's other types of, this is all linked from that public portal that would be on our webpage. But there's different types of live information, and so this will be, this will track it as we go. So it updates every night, and so it'll export that to the open book portal. So not just staff, which will have a little bit more access to the details, or actually quite a bit more access to the details, but the council or the public can kind of monitor it as well. So just that transparency aspect, I think, would be really nice to have. as shown in the agreement, we'd asked for a 5-year proposal, and so they provided one. The first year, it's 49, I believe it's 49.5, and that includes, so the actual software cost is 34.5, and then there's the 17,000 professional services. Basically, that's the implementation cost for that first year. The one negative thing, and we kind of went around with this, is because of the timing of where we're at, we're not going to be able to use it this year for the budget creation in time because of the implementation time. They said it's about 12 to 20 weeks, depending on how quickly staff can provide the information. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it kind of simultaneously, parallel. We're going to have our normal process that we've had, and then at the same time, implement the same budget into the software. And so we'll be able to start using it this year for the reporting and for the, the public transparency, because we'll be able to backload all the data that we've got, like for the 24 budget, we'll still have that. So there are quite a few aspects that we'll be able to use, and obviously for the 26 budget, we'll be just ready to go January 1st, when we start thinking about budgets staff-wise. So that, and then as part of the program, or part of the proposal, every year there is a 5% increase on that base rate of the 34,000. So the total cost for the 5 years is the 205,634. I've talked to a couple other cities. They've been really happy with this. It's leaps and bounds from what a lot of us have been using, or what they've been using, to what this allows them to do. I can't give a specific cost savings that we'll have. I do know that I could try to equate that, but until we start using it, it'll be easier to know how much less time, and I don't know, we'll be able to do so much more that we may be spending the same amount of time, but we'll have such a better product for accuracy and forecasting and managing the budget each year. Right now, if staff wants to ask for a kind of a year-to-date report, we basically we print out a spreadsheet of, 2 numbers, and there's no other information that is available. So that's been a real limitation in being able to just track our budgets throughout the year. So I strongly am recommending this product, this software. Obviously, that's ultimately up to the council. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
I got a question relating to, has Jody worked with this software?
She used an earlier version of it when she was with Plymouth. That was one of the first things that she had mentioned, was that Plymouth had been using this. So that was one of the first ones that we looked at. And then I looked at, there's really 3 main competitors, OpenGov, ClearGov, and Questica. Are the kind of the 3 most popular that most of the cities in Minnesota and kind of nationwide. There aren't a lot of good options out there. They kind of have a corner on the market, these 3.
Does Abdo have anybody who's gone through a conversion like this before? Other than Jody's Plymouth?
I'm not aware that they have. I believe when we had asked Jody, she said that there was someone in Abdo that had recently gone through it in the last couple of years. They update it, every couple of years as the software evolves. So it wouldn't be exactly the same, but the process essentially would be the same. Mostly what staff's going to have to do is provide our historical data and our GL accounts, basically all our account numbers for the entire accounting. Provide that data, and so that easily will export into what behind the scenes what their implementers will utilize. The other nice thing is it does give us real-time information. So every night it updates, and so what'll be the obligation on staff's end is to make sure that the accounting department is keeping that current. But other than that, every day as a manager or someone can come in and track their budget every day and see how it's every payroll, see how every month we'll be able to do that, and they can run their own reports. Right now, we actually don't even have a full-time accountant at the moment. We just hired the replacement. They're starting, I believe, in 2 weeks. But the past had been contact them for a kind of a budget report, and it was a very simple, just Excel spreadsheet printout of our accounting system, which, again, just didn't have a lot of helpful information other than the total. So you couldn't see why it was necessarily over or under. You could just see the two numbers.
So I can see this benefiting managers tremendously, but the increased functionality, is there going to be increased maintenance for the managers in that realm? Is it going to be like a wash, or do you think we'll still benefit?
I don't believe that there would be any increased maintenance. Once the system is implemented and set up, it should, obviously through the budget process, when we're, like for the next budget year, when we're creating the budget, they'll need to go in and update all their information. But this also talks to our current payroll software. And so a lot of that will be automated instead of having to update a spreadsheet every year of what the December 31st salaries were, or whatever point in time, it'll automatically be in there. So there'll actually be a lot less work that'll have to be done because it'll be automated and all integrated in one system.
All right, John?
So you said that this company is owned by another company, is that correct?
Correct. So their parent company is Una Solutions.
Are they public or privately held?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
And then
did not look into that.
you can check into that. And then the other thing is with budgetary software such as this, I think of like security, in terms of like, information. You hear about a lot of cities being held ransom for, various issues. And I just want to know what type of security this particular software has embedded in it that would prevent something like that from happening.
The information that I have regarding that is I don't have specific details that, some of it's over my head as far as technology wise. I did talk to Matt before he left. Last Thursday was his last day, and Friday. Sorry, Friday was his last day. And so he was part of the initial conversation as far as the technical side of it, and that was before he notified us he was leaving, but he didn't have any concerns. It is cloud-based, but they have all the typical security, firewalls and data security
No backdoors.
in place. No known. So it's a constant threat for everything we do.
Yeah.
We just went through a complete password update. Now we need 12 characters for our passwords. That changed May 1st, I believe. So there's more and more requirements for just internal control.
Yep, go ahead.
One last thing, Plymouth is currently using this particular software.
I don't know. I can check. I know they were using it at least 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, the list that's in here of the cities that are using it is quite impressive. I mean, they're much larger, obviously, than the city of Crystal, but, Marshall is, I don't think is a very big
Smaller.
city. Yeah, considerably smaller. So, but, I mean, I would just be curious as, our neighboring cities. And then also, sorry about that. That was unwanted. My last thing would be, what about like other departments such as like the fire department? Would they have access to this particular software for budgetary purposes?
They would not have access through the city.
Yeah.
They would have to have their own. But what, actually, the chief and I actually met with the New Hope manager today talking about the long-term planning that we would like to do more of. So we do have, from the city side, we'll have, it's unlimited licenses, so we can give a different, role authority down to, any level we wanted to. And then through that budget process, you can, the supervisor can approve it or, reject it and go through that. So it's, we'll be able to spread out the budget responsibility a little bit more. Ultimately, it'll roll up to me, but it'll, instead of just having the department head having to talk to people and then, they are able to delegate some of this budget information and then still have those conversations, obviously. But currently under this, the fire department would not be included with access.
And then lastly, I do know that we do need something like this because we had been using Excel spreadsheets and we had errors in our projections or whatever, and it's been obvious as we looked at spreadsheets that we'd get farther and farther out and there'd be like a big number out there, like, or there'd be a column missing or something like that. So, I mean, I do agree that, a software system like this to help us with our budgeting, especially with our long-term budgeting, would be great. One thing about, would we have to, the dollar amount? So do we have to pay for a 5-year contract up front? Is that?
No, it'll be annually.
It'd be annually, okay.
Yeah, and sorry, I should have mentioned this. In the '24 budget, we did put $50,000 in the IT budget for a budget software.
Yeah.
It happened to be with the implementation more than that, but we did put money aside so that if the council approves this, it would continue at those stated rates for those projected 5 years. So next year, the budget cost would be, for '25, would be the $36,225.
Sure. Yep.
Go ahead, David.
It seems like one of the best benefits is time saving. Do you have a guess on like how much time, or at least aggravation, it seems like it would save a little bit as well?
I don't have a specific amount of hours or time. I know part of the problem is the back and forth. We're in the thick of budget right now, budget preparation, and the back and forth emails of, I made a change in Hubble, but here's why, Jody, I need you to go and, fix this. And she doesn't even herself, there's staff for her that do it. And so there's the amount of hands that have to touch it just to get a number. And like I said, one of the problems is it's not very efficient for staff to have an idea. I mean, we're not going to create our own spreadsheets for each department and try to calculate, what the impact would be or what the percentage, we can do that. It's just really cumbersome. But if you want to, if staff's deciding between two items, well, we really like both of them, or we need two, but, the impact of just making any change, we can't see that immediately. We can see the dollar difference based on what it was last year, but it doesn't give the overall, impact on what every decision when it comes to budget preparation or budget creation has. And so this will allow the department heads to create their own draft budget if they wanted to and play with it and, try to get the best outcome, and then incorporate that into the kind of the master budget that the software, there'll be like obviously one main file. But even for the council, we'll be able to, not instantaneously, but very simply, if the council's just trying to decide between, last year there was the decision about the crime analyst position, we'll be able to have those different scenarios ready for you so you can see, we just plug it in and see what that does. I mean, it's that type of process, because staff has those conversations even just with ourselves or with, within the department heads and the manager, having that quick, immediate access to that will be so much more efficient, but saving the time, it'll also take less time. Because as I said, right now we have to send information to Jody. She updates it, and then she may have questions that we'll have to clarify. The user friendliness of this is going to be so much better that we'll be able to do the budget in less time. I know it'll be less time and have a better product, but I can't tell you the number of hours.
Sure. Just seems like it just streamlines it and just less of a mental load, right, with just emails and trying to figure that out. That'll take a lot of pressure and time off.
And the software, kind of to your point, Councilor Brzezinski, the system, it's hard to find, to see where those numbers are off. If there's a, typo or, transposed numbers, this will, because it's all integrated, it'll actually identify all the red flags. It'll create a kind of alert. That's the other neat thing is you can actually, for the department heads or anybody who's managing their budgets, tracking it, you can set alerts for any time that something hits, whether it's be the percentage or a dollar amount. So you can actually see where, the impact of every expense is going to be, or revenue. And so right now, we don't have anything like that. As you may know, each level within the city, I have the highest purchasing authority at 25, department heads are usually at 15, below that, there's 10 or 5,000. So there's approvals that go through our accounting system, but this will actually allow us that's kind of a whole separate, isolated, we don't see the budget impact of a certain expense, but this will allow us to actually track that much better.
So in forecasting budgets, I mean, obviously we can do the next year, and we're looking out 2 years, kind of based on how we've been operating. Does it have the capability to go out further in terms of?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if they said there's 10 or no limit. Obviously, the data is only going to be,
Right.
if you set it 100 years, that's a little bit
Yeah.
extreme, but you can do multiple year budgets. And as we kind of discussed last budget season, we can basically create a 5-year budget using this. And obviously, if we have a 2-year budget process, but it can help us with that kind of looking out, because it'll already have calculated a lot of those costs. And then we'll have to update it every year still,
Right.
but.
So when we go through and we have conversations about budgets and we're looking 3, 4 years, some of the out years on some of the decisions we make, we can kind of see an instant effect and we can kind of quantify it rather than just talking about it, just saying, hey, we've got future pressures on our budget if we do this, that, the other thing. We can actually quantify it and actually see real time those numbers adjust based on whatever we're contemplating doing. So
Correct.
that would make some of our decision-making, I guess, have more teeth, have more, better, we're able to quantify
More
what we're talking
informed.
about. Yeah, more informed.
You'll be more informed
Yeah.
on every impact that every budgetary decision
Yeah.
will have at that point in time.
So I didn't have a lot of questions. I just know that this is something I think that will help us immensely moving forward. My hesitation is it's not a hesitation. As we get access as a council to more information, it gets to be more real time. We're going to be asking different questions like, why are we at 100%? My gosh, it's January. Well, that's something we buy at the beginning of the year and we don't buy again until next January. All those things we'll be able to see more readily in something like this, so there will be a different level of I would say, interest. Not necessarily, it may not be as material, but you have the information to look at. You can spend extra time there if you want. It's just a different way. We moved from a budgeting where we were looking at every line item for every single department, every budget season, and that was ludicrous.
Painful.
Very ludicrous in terms of really having a big picture as to what we're looking at. And with so much information being attainable, as you move forward, just try to remember that, we're still taking a pretty elevated look at what we're doing here. And there will be some of that coming up with this process, but I'm looking forward to it.
I think we'll start kind of on the more, 35,000 foot view still
Yeah.
when we start. And
Yeah.
as council demands more information, we can obviously tweak it or add. It's all, if you want to make any adjustment or customization during the process, or during the use, you can do that. So if the council, and of course, go back where we don't want all that information. And
Yeah.
to your point, Mayor, some things are, I'm trying to leverage one of the things I'm trying to leverage is the transparency.
Yeah.
Some of it is, everything's going to be in the budget document, the budget book, available, the full budget, but not all of it's consumable by everybody. So we want to make sure we have that balance of, if you want all the information, we can obviously provide it, not just you, but the public.
Right.
We don't want to overwhelm, there's a illegal, how do you call it? I don't want to say tactic, but I mean, you can drown another side with too much information. Staff wouldn't want to do that where, to make it so confusing and so many numbers that the public doesn't know what to make sense out of. So we're obviously going to try to find that balance where we're keeping people, engaged and notified and informed, but not boring them or distracting them or bogging them down in all the details. So if they want that, I'm happy to meet with them and set a couple hours aside and go through the audit.
Rest of the
That type of
out
fun.
and come get it a day later. No.
Put it on a flash drive.
All right. Yeah, Taji.
I have a couple questions. What is Hubble?
Hubble is a JD Edwards software that we use for essentially our accounting.
Okay, so will that go away?
That's through Logis. That will not go away. So what we'll have to do is take so there will be a little bit of redundancy in our, because that feeds from we won't be using it for creating the budget. But we will have to import the final data from the budget software into that, because that also talks. We will still be using that for our accounting. That's one of the accounting software. But that also is being phased out over Logis they've been working over the next couple of years. Minnetonka just went through a transition for their electronic resource program, their ERP, and so ours is, we're in the pipeline, but there's been some issues with that implementation, so that's not happening immediately.
Okay. John?
I'm not done, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so Hubble's not going away, which is fine, I guess. So there is no other area where there's no other cost savings outside of time. Like, we're not getting rid of anything, correct?
Not of any, no, there's nothing that we're currently spending money on that will be going away
Okay, thank you.
at this time.
Who will be like the power users? Is that like our accountant, or who's gonna like own the thing?
It'll be our finance department, and probably, again, there'll be different levels.
Yeah.
I will have complete access, presumably Jody or, someone, our accounting manager would have probably secondary, and then all the department heads would probably be on that same level. We'll have to determine exactly where people will fall and what, authority they have. Ultimately, it'll be me, since right now I am the, chief officer.
Yes, totally. So I'm just asking because there's a lot of stuff that this thing offers. So I'm like ecstatic about this. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I just want to make sure we have, we're able to get as much out of it as we can. If we're just using the bare bones stuff and paying, this dollar amount, I just don't want that to be the case. And so it actually kind of worries me a little bit that you would be the power user, not because of your ability, but I would hope that someone would, so obviously there's the implementation, they'll get us up to speed, help us get it up and running. But as we then explore, this transparency stuff for the public, which I think is brilliant, who's gonna do that, And maybe that's something I need to read in the contract, but do they provide some support to get that stuff stood up?
Correct. Yeah, they do. As part of the implementation, they do on-site training, and they will work with Mike Peterson, our communications coordinator, will be involved as well, even though he doesn't have a lot of budget role. He does on the public, the publication. Currently, he has a small role. But because this will be also through our website, they'll be involved. The new IT person will be involved. For the power user, just to clarify, all the department heads will have full access and full use of it. When I was saying power user, I'll have to sign off on it. So I'll have to approve it at the end.
Yeah.
Before it gets presented or proposed to the council, it's gonna have to, buck stops with me.
Yeah.
But all the department heads will have full access to it, Other than maybe some of the personnel items, because we have to segregate some of that, the payroll specialist will be kind of the power user for that. And so that person will work with Kim and myself on the HR items. But this will actually allow us to forecast all of the insurance costs, all the wages, benefits, that we currently have to manually try to create.
Yeah.
We can take an entire, labor union agreement, input the data, and it'll automatically, rectify or update all the figures, and then obviously at the beginning, we'll have to, we'll have to double check it. But right now, it's all manual.
And
hoping we don't
maybe-
miss something or have something wrong.
And I probably didn't use the right language, so I understand the power users. Maybe I'm more so asking like who's gonna configure it, and it sounds like Questar, Questica?
Questica.
They will obviously configure it. I just, again, want to make sure that this tool is set up so that you all as power users can get the most out of it. That's maybe my biggest concern, because this is just my opinion, but they can kind of sell you on all the nice, visuals and all this stuff, but like that's work and time to like get the system to be able to do that. And so I just want to make sure we are thinking about that, and it'll actually be set up for us to capitalize on all that this has to offer. All of that said, I think this is fantastic. As I mentioned, months ago during a work session, just this idea of frugal innovation. I think this is a perfect example. I think this is relatively low cost, and I think it will allow us, as others have said, to make more informed and just better decisions as a council. I think it will provide more transparency for our community as we spend their money. So I think there's so many positives to this. I'm really excited about it.
All right. Was it John? Yeah. John then
I guess my question for you, you may have mentioned it, but it says here, Questica will work with the customer to determine the most efficient and effective manner to acquire data from the existing systems. So it's not going to be manual. There's going to be some type of automated upload. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we did confirm, so that's kind of their boilerplate language. Their software does talk to our JD Edwards system
Okay.
that we currently have.
That's good. I think that's very effective.
Forrest.
So to go back to the Hubble software, is that JD Edwards or is that Logis? Or are you purchasing it through Logis, but actually?
It's a JD Edwards product,
Okay.
purchased through Logis as part of, it's our ERP system.
Okay. And and you said that's getting updated at some point in the future soon. Is there any way that, is this a product that Questica also can do in the future? Or is this, that's gonna be a whole nother thing?
Well,
in 3 years?
so one of the problems that also kind of spurred this was the Logis did not have a budget option or budget solution as part of what they were proposing with the new software that they had been pursuing. And so that was one of the frustrations from multiple cities, is that, that's something that we all need, but they didn't have anything proposed. So that kind of made it even more important for us to find something that actually does work. There's only a couple options out there for the ERPs, and what Questica has said is that trying to think of the name of the other one. So JD Edwards is one of the big ones. Kim, I don't know can you remember the other, the one that we were?
JD Edwards is an Oracle product,
Yeah.
and that's what we're also going to be moving to, an Oracle product. What was the other question? What other?
Oracle was the
ERPs?
name I was looking for.
Okay, thank you.
As you probably know, I'm a fan of distancing from Logis. So is there like a plan in the future to kind of maybe have a better, if they're both Oracle products on like the back end, to have it all kind of rolled into one system, or?
Yeah, that's a work in progress at this time with Logis. JD, our current Oracle system, or JD Edwards, our current Oracle system, is actually good for another 10 years. So we're doing some pre-planning on how we're going to migrate to a new system. And we, in the city of Crystal, have learned that we don't like to be the first people out of the gate. We like to let other people go through a lot of the trouble before we jump on the bandwagon of changing. So it's a work in progress.
case.
So when you say 10 years, we have a contract for 10 years?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, the life
The-
expectancy.
the life-
or-
So it will be
For-
updated, okay.
It was supposed to be 5 years, and then we just recently found out that it's actually another, it's 10 years, actually. So there was less motivation for Logis to change because there were some issues with, Minnetonka just went through a conversion to the new software that had been proposed, and they were not happy. So that's a whole separate, Logis conversation, but we found out that our current ERP, which does work with Questica, is good for another 10 years as far as being supported.
All right, sounds good. Well, I totally support that you're doing some pre-planning work, especially if it means maybe going a little bit more independent from Logis.
Yeah, like I said, that's a work in progress, and we'll have to see. It comes down to what we need and would like to have, and the affordability.
Sounds good, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion on this one. John?
Make a motion authorizing the purchase of Questica budget software.
Go ahead, Taji.
I'd like to second that.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, offices will be closed on Wednesday, June 9th in observance of Juneteenth holiday, also closing on July 4th and 5th in observance of Independence Day holiday. Next council meeting is Tuesday, July 16th at 7 p.m. That's here at council chambers and via Zoom. Crystal Frolics is July 25th through the 28th. Schedule is available at the website, www.crystalfrolics.org. Reminder that Crystal Council meetings and work sessions are open to the public. Current and previous meetings are available for viewing or listening on our website at crystalmn.gov. Do we have any other announcements? Yeah, John?
Seeing none, I think I can make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead.
So moved.
Forrest?
Second.
All right, all members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Everyone have a great rest of your month. Happy 4th, and see you next month.
40 meeting to order. We could take roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Cummings,
Here.
Commissioner Idbo,
Here.
Commissioner Kamish, Commissioner Kaiser,
Here.
Commissioner Otis Sarosin,
Here.
Commissioner Adams,
Here.
Commissioner
as part of that process, that was part of the conversation of how can we do that? I would say we could figure out a way. I'd have to talk to Mike Peterson specifically about how best to do that in a relatively short amount of time with a quick turnaround. It's something John's not real excited about it, sorry.
It's okay.
We'd have to figure out when the absolute deadline would be and how quickly we can do that. Mike's actually out of the office today. But we'd want some type of kind of guardrails on that. To help facilitate it. But we thought that, having all 14 and having public vote on those wouldn't be ideal, or far from ideal.
Okay.
So.
Forrest?
My question was, do we have a drop dead deadline? And now you answered that question with your statement. I mean, I'm also a fan of having the community vote. I mean, it's not like we'd run into, necessarily a situation like MnDOT runs into with naming their plows or something very offensive. It's like, these are the 14 and there's nothing here that's blatantly offensive that I can tell. I mean, I don't know, there might be something hidden, but, I mean, I think it'd be a good opportunity. And also, I mean, it can be a quick turnaround. Places I've worked, we've done social media voting with just the reactions, and those things are only live normally like for 3 days maybe, and then your traffic just drops off. So it'd be just like a couple of days maybe. I guess the issue would be calling back the EDA in time to have us make that final decision.
Jim?
I'd support picking 10 tonight. I mean, there's some good choices here, and I think there's a fair amount of agreement in terms of between staff and what we know, who's already voiced their favorites. I absolutely love all of the flagged ones. I think that fits kind of what we're talking about. I'm a flower fan. I'm not sure there's any flowers I would eliminate. We could just go through and each of us X out 4 that we don't like, and then tally it up and be done. That means we have 10 people whose artwork is going to be displayed, and I like the idea of that as well. I really like the idea of people actually taking the effort and seeing it come to fruition.
John Sutter?
I would make it, I don't know if a majority of the board wants to provide an opportunity for public input on the selection, but if a majority does want to do that, without having to delay this to your next meeting, which is July 16th, 4 weeks from now, as part of your motion, we could do a fast survey with a quick turnaround. And you could, in your motion, provide staff, the executive director, final discretion as to, if you select 10 tonight to move forward to the public, to decide which ones to use, or maybe select 6 or something. But you'd have to delegate that to the staff, or we basically delay it by a month. So there is a way to do this, I think.
I think I like, so if I'm connecting the dots, I think we're gonna do both. A recommendation is to do both, where we as a council select 10. We're gonna move forward with the 10 and move on with the process. And then I would still like to post something for the community to vote, just to see, they're not necessarily gonna decide, we've already decided. And maybe it's not a vote, but maybe it's just, hey, we're doing this thing,
What do you
take a
think?
look.
Which one's your favorite?
Which one's your favorite?
Likes or something.
Yes, and so let's continue at the pace we're going. We can decide on the 10, but then figure out something creative to involve the community. They can pick their favorite. And maybe, the top 3 we decide, once we have to do more, we're gonna go back to those top 3 and do a couple more of those designs, across the city or something like that. Does that feel okay, kind of that we're gonna do both? Okay. So we need to pick 10. I'm not sure how to best do that. Adam?
Thank you. The one thing I was gonna say is I'm sure, I don't know if you'll be able to rank them, but if there were the bottom 2 or 3 that were less of your favorites, and
Less of your favorite.
you guys have selected them, and let the public have some input, and if any of the ones that the council didn't pick could replace those that the council did pick from the bottom. Like if you had a core 8 that you for sure wanted, but if there were 2 that, out of the other 6, that the council, you know, they were less your favorite, maybe I'm overcomplicating it, but, or we could just have, you know, just get the feedback. Because I think that just that engagement, just that engagement level of, you know, without promising that whatever's most popular based on, you know, 200 people on Facebook voted for next door, at least they'd be able to, you know, provide some feedback.
Yeah.
And then we can, that's part of rolling out the project, and we can, you know, promote it, and we can, you know, we can even say, you know, this is the first round of these, we're planning on doing this in the, you know, more in the future, so stay tuned and stay engaged.
Well, at the
Oh,
very
sorry.
least, sorry.
Sorry, John Budashevsky.
Thank you. You know, Jim mentioned like maybe excluding 4. What I would say is like each one of us gets to pick 3, and then, you know, basically kind of figure out what the most popular one is, and then if we want to, you know, we can say like, you know, for the rest of them, you know, have it rounded out by either by members of the staff, you know, or something like that. So it's kind of a joint effort. Move forward from there.
It's an option. Therese?
Sorry. What I was gonna say, at the very least, let's just share this with the community. Make them,
Yes.
yeah, I just think the artwork is wonderful, and why not share it? It's fun.
Yes. Forrest?
Yeah, so I support just like choosing 10 and then sharing, and then people can vote for their favorite. I will say I did submit for this, so I'm gonna recuse myself from the actual decision, so.
Wow.
Which one is this?
I'm not gonna tell you.
You're already recused.
It's right there, isn't it?
I do really like that one.
You're one of the mimes, aren't you?
Jim?
Yeah, I think Forrest said it. I love the idea of bringing the community into it to kind of get the excitement going. I think Adam touched on it too. I think that's a great way to promote it and build that excitement. Yeah.
Let's say, I just want it for the record, none of the artists are receiving any type of remuneration for their selection or submission, so.
So there's a couple different ways. There was a suggestion that we select our most favorite, an idea that we actually select our least favorite. We select 10, we select 6, I don't know.
Make a proposal.
I think 10.
Yeah.
I'd like to do 10.
Just makes
Let's
sense.
just go 1 through 10, our favorite as being 1,
Yep.
10 being our least favorite.
So we will all do that on our own, and then what? Or I think it's actually, is there a need to prioritize or rank them, or can we all just select our bottom 4? Is that probably the
We
easiest?
can do that. That'd be the easiest way to.
Which 4 would we prefer not to see?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
we can do that.
So once we all select our least favorite 4, then what do we do?
Then we would need a motion to select the other 10.
But
If
we
there's
have to
con-
somehow figure out which are
Four.
the most common
Yeah, see if there's a
Yes, sir, we'll
consensus.
tally it up.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll tally,
You'll have a discussion.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
A coin.
And
We've done that once.
we're doing that
Too soon.
now. Yep, but I'm,
Okay, so I think we are all individually, I feel like we're in class or something. We're all
Yeah, put
individually
your heads
going
down.
to rank our bottom 4. So the 4 that you would least prefer to see on a box. And then we're gonna go through each of them one by one and tally up how many, dislikes or non-preferred votes each of them has. We'll see what the top 4 vote earners are, and that should narrow down our list of 10. So we'll give it a few minutes for folks to identify their bottom 4.
so we're gonna do that verbally.
Hey, no
to count.
cheating.
No, I got it.
Oh, you already
Yeah.
Already done.
Yeah.
We've all-
I had 'em.
I mean,
I came into it. I
You didn't have any homework.
And what I'll do
No,
is
I
I'll
was
just,
like-
as you each go and call out your 4, I'll put an X, it'd be like a strike.
Okay. So I'll
This one
tell-
has 5 strikes against it, that
Okay.
kind of thing.
Oh, gosh.
The northern part of the city is ready.
Oh, yeah. Third of the list.
It's like,
I always like putting pressure on the southern part.
It's like I took a sculpture class in college, a couple art classes, man, I feel like.
Really? Sculpture?
Yeah, it's like the anxiety before critique.
You gonna go sit in the green room or something like that?
Yeah.
Or you- Yeah.
Be dismissed. No, I'm just joking.
Does anyone need more time? Okay, everyone's good. Okay, we're gonna do it. Do you wanna start with me, John?
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah. Start with me. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you the numbers where I voted.
The
Right?
numbers that you like the least.
Correct, yes.
Very good.
9, 11, 8, and 10. Therese?
I'm gonna say 5, 7, 11, and 13.
Does that hurt?
Those are ones
No.
that you dislike.
It was just,
Then, Adam, are you voting?
No.
You shouldn't, yeah, okay. Jim?
I will go 6, 8, 10, and 11.
David?
6, 8, 9, 13.
John?
14, 11, 10, and 5.
Forrest?
I'm not.
You're not voting, okay.
No, because I'm in there. so
Yeah,
I don't
you're in
wanna-
there.
It's not fair.
This is quite
Get to vote at
the,
the end?
do we have any, where are the numbers at, John?
So, we have, one of them, number 11, had 4 strikes. Numbers 8 and 10 had 3 strikes. And then numbers 5, 6, and 13, 5, 6, 9, and 13 had 2 strikes. So that's a 4-way tie,
Okay,
For
5, 6, 9,
9
and 13.
So there were 2 that were, or 3 that were consensus, kind of.
Jim?
I propose we make Adam and John both. That would represent staff.
Or you could re-vote.
Yes, we can do that, or we can re-vote on those four, but
Mr. President, that's exactly what I'd suggest, is each of you, of those 4, you have to pick the worst one, in
okay.
your opinion. Or sorry, the one you like the least.
Like,
Of 5, 6, 9, 13.
5, 6, 9, and 13, yes.
Yes, so everyone look at 5, 6, 9, and 13.
pick your least.
Identify your least favorite of 5, 6, 9, and 13. And then we'll go through once more. I'll start. But I'm not quite sure.
Whaley Crystal. That's cool. Was it Guinness?
Okay, 9.
Was it Guinness caps?
Therese?
5.
Jim?
6.
David?
9.
John?
5. Terrible.
So now we have a 2-way tie with 5 and 9.
We can flip a coin now, right?
Yeah, there you go.
We have an airport.
Yeah, 5 is like one of my favorites.
Revote.
So, Mr. President, I'd suggest you do the same thing again, same exercise, but you decide, each of you decides which of 5 or 9 you like the least.
Yes, we'll still, yes, same verbiage of which one do you like the least between 5 and 9. Oh, man.
It's obvious now.
I'll start 9.
5.
9.
9.
5. I already knew the number even before you started.
5 has it, huh?
No?
Was that 3 for 5?
No.
Or 3 for 9?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So the selectees are, well, now you'll need a motion, 1 through 7 and 12 through 14.
Okay. So, yes, I'm looking for a motion for someone to approve
Yep.
Those numbers 1 through 7, the artwork designs 1 through 7, and then 12 through 14. Jim?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve all the designs from numbered 1 through 6, as well as 12 through 14, as approved designs
Seven,
for,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
including 7, for approved designs for our artwork to be put on the boxes.
Do we have a second? John?
I second that motion.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And we have 1 abstention. We don't need a roll call for that, right?
I don't think so.
Good. Great, so I think, so we voted on that, which is great. There's also consensus that we have some kind of community engagement. I think there's an ask that that residents can like vote on something, what's their favorite, like that interaction versus just showing them what we're doing. Jim?
And I think when we get feedback from the public, it can kind of help staff figure out where they're gonna put those ones that are most favored in a more prevalent place.
John?
I'm concerned that there isn't one in Ward 3. So,
Next year.
next year.
So if, we went into this not knowing how this was gonna turn out, how successful this would be.
Yeah.
If the community responds to these very positively, there are 4 that are more in residential areas. One is at 47th and Douglas, for example. And next year, we could look at doing those 4 as part of the EDU's railroad.
Okay. Forrest, did you have a comment?
I was just wondering if there was any desire, you could maybe reach out to the artists that got in and say, did you have a specific location when you were doing it too?
We will be having one-on-one conversations with each artist, because as we look at locations, there are going to be some of them where the cabinet is more obscured by those adjacent cabinets, and we're going to have to, it'll be a one-on-one kind of conversation.
Should we start that now and ask Forrest where he wants
No.
his artwork? Are you gonna tell us at the end which one are yours?
No.
No,
Find
it's
it
the
on our
mine.
own.
You'll have to go find out when it's installed.
It's the mimes.
I wish I was the mine.
Well, that was fun to echo Jim's comments. Thanks, John, on your leadership on that. It's really a fun
those are
thing
great.
for our community. So we look forward to seeing those go up.
Mr. President, I'm
yes.
sorry, can I request a brief recess?
Yes, certainly. We'll take a recess.
Recording stopped.
Yes.
Recording in progress.
We'll move on to number 5. So we'll consider a resolution approving a demolition contract for 6110 Lakeland Avenue North. John?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have good news on this. The lower, we had 2 quotes. We requested 3, got 2. And the low one is low enough that there's no EDA action required. At $14,200, it's well below the threshold requiring your action. So staff can approve that agreement. We're very happy with the price. Kevin Excavating is a local contractor who in fact is doing the demolition at the pool. They said they're very familiar with working with the city, very confident in having the information they need to make a good bid or a proposal. And so with that, there's no action required by you, and we're going to proceed with going with Kevin for the demolition of 6110 Lakeland.
Thank you for that update. Any questions on that? Great. Lastly, property status update. What do you have for us, John?
So a lot of this you've heard before, but New Horizon is continuing with their complete renovation of the property at 7057th Avenue North. Wells Fargo has for the last month or so been more intentionally marketing their vacant building at 7056th Avenue North on Bass Lake Road. They are fully moved in to their new space in the mall at the northeast corner of Bass Lake Road and Broadway, next to the Chipotle. Not right next to the Chipotle. Between their location and the Chipotle, an Xfinity store is going to be coming in to fill that gap between those 2 spaces. So they will be moving in soon, within a couple months, I would guess. Dunkin' is continuing to work on their renovation of the former Dairy Queen. And at 6056, there's an existing office building, and we've had some development inquiries about that property. I can't say more than that because we don't know a lot more than that. But as soon as we have more information, we'll certainly share that. The single-family home with an accessory dwelling unit at 4824 56th, right at the east end of Bass Lake Road by the curve where it turns north towards Brooklyn Center. That was an EDA lot. The builder listed that house with ADU at $650,000. They just completed it. They have a sale. I think they're closing within days at $680,000.
Wow.
So it's a 6-bedroom, 3-bath house with a 3-car garage plus a 1-bedroom ADU with its own 1-car garage. So, I mean, there's a lot of value there, but still, I think that surprised not only us, but the builder that they were able to sell it at that price. So they're looking to build more of those. They'd never done this before, and they were very happy the way this turned out. So hopefully we'll see more of that, not just in Crystal, but elsewhere. 5240 Apartments have had some delays with various finishing work, but they are expecting to open for residents probably in the middle of July, maybe late July. At 6200 block of 36th, there's a developer that bought a house with an adjacent vacant lot. This is just up the hill and east of the strip mall where Cardell Floral is. There's a house on a very large, not very large property, but large for a single-family house. And they're planning to demolish the house and build an 8-unit townhome development. They're going to be having a neighborhood meeting sometime fairly soon. And then they are going to use what they get from the neighborhood meeting to inform their submittal for the Planning Commission, presumably for the August Planning Commission meeting. So stay tuned on that, and we'll have more to share when we have more to share. And then 3400 block of Douglas, you may have noticed that the southerly building is being framed up now. It's based at 8-unit townhome development on an EDA site is 2 4-unit townhome buildings. The foundation is in for both, but they're doing the framing now on the southerly one closest to 34th, and then they'll start on the northerly one. And then one other update I wanted to provide. Some months back, you authorized an offer for the 5273 West Broadway property, which we would need to reconstruct the Douglas Drive West Broadway intersection. We did send that offer over. The owner requested a meeting. We met with them. They expressed that they are not interested in selling, but they haven't formally responded. So if they change their mind, we're still here. But as of right now, it does not look like they are interested in selling or responding in any way to the offer that we made. So that's all I have on that.
Any questions? John?
So on that offer, so they actually met with you and had a brief discussion with you? They didn't like have a counter or anything like that?
No, we specifically asked, we kind of encouraged them, is there a price that, but that's the whole point of this, was to try to.
Get some interest, yeah.
Right, and they just weren't interested, I think it's safe to say.
So why even meet?
Because they're ultimately trying to lease part of their land.
Well, what was really interesting is that online listing disappeared shortly after your meeting. I think it's probably coincidence because it was kind of a far-fetched scenario for a ground lease. But the timing was, it was at the same time, basically. So, the whole ground lease thing didn't really make sense. I don't think there's a connection there, but there could be.
Forrest?
So they didn't give any reasoning, they're just like, I'm meeting with you to tell you in person that I'm not interested in selling, or like, what?
They had a lot of questions about the proposed intersection reconstruction and the roundabout and everything else, and we answered those questions. I don't think they agreed with our answers, but the interim public works director was in the room with me because it's an infrastructure project, and to answer those questions. And again, we did answer the questions about why the property would be needed if we do this project, why the city was interested in doing this project in the first place, what was wrong with the current intersection, that kind of thing, and we answered all of those questions. I would say the majority of that conversation was about the project itself.
Other questions? John?
Any next steps in this situation? Just
I don't think so, because we're still trying to gather funding for that project. And at some point, if that project becomes more real, then I think we can, we would need to go back to them. And we said that in the meeting. This project is years away, but as the property owner, the key property owner for this project, where this project would need to go, we feel we should talk to you now rather than wait and see if you're interested. And that was the purpose of it. We have no plans to proceed, at this point anyway, with purchasing the property if they're not interested in selling.
okay.
All right, Forrest?
One other question, what was the address of that office building where was that office building that there was some development inquiry?
We've had some inquiries about 6056. It's right at the northeast corner of Bottineau and Bass Lake.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for those updates, John. With that, we'll move to other business. Anything anyone wants to bring up? Okay. With that, looking for a motion to adjourn. John?
So moved?
Jim, do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Meeting is adjourned.
Recording stopped.